All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Beast Wars Transmetal 2 Scourge. Yeah, I actually had someone in the comment section request this review quite a while ago, actually, but I had, some more recent stuff that I wanted to get through first, but I didn't forget. But yeah, here we are, taking a look at Scourge. And, as the Transmetal 2s go, I feel like they get a lot of flack. I generally like the Transmetal 2s. Scourge is not one of my favorites. He's okay. I generally like him, but he's not without issue. Something that was kind of infamous about the Transmetal 2s is, like them having all this kind of like chromeware pad like problems over time. And honestly, I don't have that with most of them, but on Scourge, it's pretty bad. I don't really mind it up here where we're just, like losing the orange chrome to be silver chrome, but when you get to the back end here with the abdomen, you're losing the orange chrome to get to this kind of like gross white color, and that's not great. But yeah, I generally like his Locust mode is allegedly what it's supposed to be. I don't know if it really looks that much like a locust, but it looks like a neat looking bug here. I like that it's able to actually stand on all 6 of its legs here. The wings kind of look a little bit messy up here. It is kind of tied to a gimmick where on this wing specifically, he's got this little red piece, which kind of acts as a trigger to shoot this red piece out from the inside there. And what you're supposed to do is this red piece up here, if you can get the right grip on it, you're actually supposed to push this in so it flips the wings around. And if you do it in just the right way, you can get it to actually let me do it this way. Otherwise, I'm going to shoot this thing down a flight of stairs. But if you push it in just the right way, you can get this to actually trigger the missile. It's a little bit difficult to accomplish, but if you, nope, that's the other one. So yeah, in theory, this is supposed to work. I've gotten it to work once or twice, but it's not the easiest thing to oh, there we go. That actually worked. And yeah, it's let me get these missiles once. It's okay. And he comes with this extra missile here, which plugs into the other wing, which it just kind of loosely sits in here just as a place to store. I sort of wish that they had actually gotten that mechanism on both wings, because just having this one as a storage spot is like fine, but you kind of want both the missiles to launch. And then what's also kind of annoying is like when you're messing around with this guy, that's really not a very like tight connection. So it kind of just falls out. It doesn't have a ton to grip in there. Like it stays okay, but it can be a bit annoying. So yeah, the gimmick is interesting. I think ultimately it's a bit more trouble than it's worth because it kind of amounts to having like this huge sort of like messy wing chunk on the back, which doesn't like really look very good when it's just sitting still. But yeah, in terms of articulation in this mode, each of the little front 4 legs here are just on a ball joint at the base, so it can move around like that. Each of the little mandibles here, of course, Transmetal 2 asymmetrical, can bend up and down like that and apparently come right off. Didn't know that those plugged in, but we're learning new stuff. And then the back legs here are on kind of a hinge and a ball joint here at the base. So they can hinge up and down. Well, technically they're attached really way up here because these will just be the robot mode legs. But I think visually you're supposed to think that the purple point is actually where the leg starts on the bug, I think. But, it's got regular kind of leg articulation, and then it can hinge in and out like this at the knee a little bit, which I have issues with that in robot mode, but it works here. And then the wings, obviously they can do this as part of the whole mechanism. They also have a separate hinge right here. So you can kind of like splay them out, which I think, visually looks a little bit better in Locust mode when you're not actually like using the gimmick. They're kind of sitting asymmetrically because one of them is kind of, blocked this, the little trigger piece here, but otherwise I think that looks a little bit better. And then the little stinger back here on the back can kind of hinge up and down as well. So yeah, bug mode is all right. I think it looks pretty cool. I think it's definitely the better of the 2 modes, but it's not without issues. In terms of comparisons in this mode, I'm getting little orange flakes all over the table just from messing around with this figure. Here he is with another modern Beast Wars bug with Kingdom Waspinator, so you can see what the 2 of them look like together. And then here he 3 is with Kingdom Sideswipe for that standard comparison. I figured this was a better comparison with robot mode than showing the bug off with a car. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the Locust mode. For transformation, first thing you want to do is the bottom section here is actually going to be one of the arms, and it will unpeg, and you've got all of these legs attached to it. I generally take the mandibles and I kind of fold them up like this just to kind of clean it up for robot mode. And then the back section here, you want to bring this out of the way. You want to take this, the abdomen section here. Of course, it's going to flake off while I'm transforming it, but and then this section is annoying as well. You want to hinge this up just to get it out of the way. And then you want to split this section. It'll kind of peg into either side of this black piece, which will be the shoulder piece in robot mode. And you just want to untab these and move it out like that, and then take this whole section, now that that's freed up, and hinge it down like that. And then you want to take the whole body section and rotate it just 90 degrees to sit, no, not 90 degrees, sorry. You want to rotate it the full 180 degrees to sit like that. And then each of the arms are on these little armatures here that you kind of fold out to the side to sit onto the body. We can rotate his elbow forward. And then this arm, you rotate it around just like that. And then I'm not entirely sure what you're supposed to do with these. What I generally do is I flip this up, and then you can fold the little stinger section in, and then fold the wing section down kind of in between it. I think that's how it's supposed to go. Either way, that's the way I like to do it. Oh, gosh. I don't know if you can see all this, but there's just like a ton of orange flakes on the table now. And then for the legs, you want to take the little tips of the legs here and then rotate them around like that to become the robot mode feet. And then with this arm here, it kind of just has like a bunch of like bug arms hanging off of it. What I usually do is I like fold it down into this kind of like weird little like boxy like bug leg buckler on his arm here, just so it's a little bit more, you know, contained. Yeah, there we have the robot mode. And he's all right. I'd say that knees up, I quite like his robot mode. Like, yeah, this stuff's a little bit messy, but at least there's something you can kind of do with it. And it's got kind of a, you know, a lot of the Beast Wars figures had that vibe going on of having just like bug legs hanging off of it. The lower legs, yeah, I wish they did something else with the lower legs, which kind of annoying is it's a little bit difficult, weirdly, to get him to stand. And he always has these like giant backwards knees, because the joint in here that I kind of wish they just didn't have is this little pathetic knee joint with these like little extension bits, because it's loose enough that, like, you know, you'd want to kind of extend it out to make him taller, but it really can't hold the weight there. He kind of just like sinks back down after a little while, which then tends to happen on one leg over the other, and then which kind of just makes him fall over. So you kind of have to have those compressed. And at that point, like, especially since it's such a tiny range, like, what's the point? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that it's just hard to make him like actually look good with the orientation of his legs here. Like, if those joints were just a bit tighter, then I think having them extended out does look a little bit better. But since that doesn't really work, then you kind of just end up with these like legs that are trying to compress on each other and then make them fall over, and it's a little bit awkward. In terms of articulation, the head is just on a swivel here. It can rotate in and out. It's on a bit of a springy joint from when that piece flips over. This arm here is on a ball joint at the shoulder, and then that little hinge on the armature that goes in and out. And you can kind of adjust the Locust head to your liking. Also, this is where his hidden Predacon spark crystal is inside one of his eyes, which I think is pretty cool there. And then a ball joint at the elbow, which gives him a bicep swivel and an elbow. But unfortunately, just the way that his hand is sculpted on this arm, he's got the kind of like gorilla elbow thing going on, which is a bit annoying. That just falls out a lot of the time. And then on this arm, he does have that hinge in and out from that armature. And then he also has a ball joint there, which is a bit more limited. You can kind of hinge the shoulder pad up and down. He also has a ball joint at the elbow, which gives him a bicep swivel as well. But his hand on this side is actually facing the correct direction. Notionally, he's got a waist joint. If you have the abdomen section hanging down, then he has a sort of like midriff waist joint there. But I usually leave it up like this, which locks it in place, unfortunately. And then ball joints at the hips here, which, you know, get a little bit of wiggle and not a tremendous amount of range, honestly. But because they're kind of at this like weird angle here where the cut is not directly at the top of the ball joint, it's kind of like up and forward. And then he's got that hinge at the knee, which again is just not tremendously useful because you have to have his knees kind of like bent up like this anyway. And then a ball joint right there as well, which again, you're not really getting a ton of use out of. And then this little pathetic hinge, and then the feet can kind of tilt back and forth. So yeah, not a ton of like useful articulation, I would say. Again, just like really the legs, I think, are the huge kind of bummer here because he really does kind of want to just topple over a lot of the time. One thing that's kind of neat that you can do is if you take out the two missiles here. Actually, I have to launch this one. He has this little hole in his hand, so you can actually hold these. And the hole is deep enough that you can actually get it to, kind of like have both of them in there, in which case he's holding his kind of like cool bug wing staff. I like that. I think that's a neat look there. And I think it's a good height for him so that when he's got his legs bent up like that, he can actually have it kind of, sitting on the ground. And I think that's a neat look, kind of an interesting use of the missiles there. And again, they've got that nice place to store notionally. This one stores just fine. This one tends to just fall out a lot, as you saw. Like it sits in a lot better when it's, sitting this way for bug mode. It doesn't want to fall out quite as much, but all of the actual grip is on the bottom of it. So then when it sits this way, it just doesn't have a ton actually holding it in there, unfortunately, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, if I can get him standing here, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe there. Pretty much the same height as him, though quite a bit more mass, a little bit taller than he is. And then here he is again with Kingdom Waspinator, just for another more recent bug boy. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to Scourge. Like I said, he's a bit of a mess. I don't hate him. He's not like the worst figure. Just compared to a lot of the other Transmetal 2s, I don't think he's quite as successful. I like a lot of his vibes, but just there's a few things about him that just make him a lot less fun to actually mess around with. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. If you have a figure you want me to review that I haven't reviewed already, just put it in the comment section and I'll let you know if I can get to it, if it's something that I have. Another thing that I did want to mention is I actually, last week, I started a new Instagram account specifically for toy-related stuff that's, kind of loosely affiliated with this channel. And that's Toys and Art on Instagram, if you want to check that out. I try to post every day or every other day, more or less. That's toys.art. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. But yeah, for now, this has been Transformers Beast Wars Transmetal 2 Scourge.